you may.
What's the first thing? What's the
130?
Sorry, go ahead. No. What's the first thing they've already set up? A central bank with the Al-Qaeda rebels and an oil system to fund them. And they're saying they're going to put the Al-Qaeda people basically in charge and give them 30-something billion bucks.
That's right. They're going to give them part of the action because they're nothing more than mercenaries. But they want that 143.8 tons of gold so they can sell it into the market and keep the price of gold down. So they have a number of objectives here, including killing Gaddafi.
That's right.
Gaddafi has gold, and he's trying to get advanced weapons from Russia, and I think Russia's going to give them to him.
That's right. Were you shocked 2 weeks ago when the Financial Times of London confirmed that he was the 8th largest owner of gold in the world?
No. I knew that he was heavy, but I didn't know how heavy. I mean, this guy is not dumb. He's very, very smart. And without this lack of air cover, he would have taken the rebels over already. I think what's going to happen, we're going to have a protracted war on land, so to speak. And I don't think Gaddafi's going to get taken down unless they send in a large, large force. And I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they get the people to spare. And incidentally, that section that the rebels are in right now produces per capita more Al-Qaeda, Taliban, terrorist types than any place throughout the world of Islam.
Now that's according to
Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, that's according to the West Point report from 3 years ago.
Right.
Now, continuing and shifting gears, but it's still in the same vein. I want to play you a short clip of Rush Limbaugh talking about the Afghanistan massacres and the lining up teenagers and kids and killing them and laughing and giggling about it. Limbaugh says this is what the good guys do. He says our military basically should go back to World War II where they do target civilians. And my point to Limbaugh is until World War II, in the age of chivalry, for hundreds of years, the West never targeted civilians. The mafia says don't kill women and children. And so Limbaugh's claiming that our military is inept because they're not killing enough civilians. Here's this clip.
The documents cover some known aspects of the troubled 9-year conflict. U.S. Special Operations Forces have targeted militants without trial. Afghans have been killed by accident. Why? That is unheard of. That is unheard of in any war anywhere in the history of the world. That civilians have been killed by accident? That's unheard of. Do you realize what this says about us? How guilty, how rotten to the core can this country be? Innocent Afghan citizens killed by accident. In the old days, it used to be on purpose, i.e. Hiroshima, Nagasaki, Dresden. In the old days, the definition of winning a war was killing people and breaking things. In the old days, there was no such thing as a surgical strike. In the old days, you purposely killed innocent civilians. That's what war was all about. That's how you won it. But now, all of a sudden, these big WikiLeaks documents say that Afghans have been killed by accident. Whoa, the incompetence of the U.S. military.
All right. Bob Chapman, you're a military veteran, intelligence veteran as well. Historically, I mean, it's known as barbarous criminals target civilians. And even if some of this happened with carpet bombing in World War II, it doesn't mean this is moral or good, does it?
No, it does not. And Dresden was done by England, and that was on order from Winston Churchill, who probably seldom drew a sober breath. And the actions in Nagasaki and Hiroshima were to teach the world a lesson by the Illuminists in the United States: don't cross us or we'll obliterate you. Because the Japanese had tried for a year to surrender, and they wouldn't let them.
Let me expand on that, because it's not hidden history. It's mainline history that Hitler, it was unprecedented for him to bomb military facilities in Poland. He then only bombed, in the first part of the Blitz, military sites in England and factories. And then the British, on record, launched a giant airstrike on civilian areas of Berlin, and it was later declassified, to get Hitler to attack civilian centers so that because the psych warfare chiefs in England had found that would actually make the Brits be more pro-war, and so they tricked Hitler into targeting civilian sites so that they could then target civilian sites, and that they actually did it first. That's on record, and that's something that really isn't taught, you know, in low-level history, and that's not something I don't think Limbaugh even understands.
Well, one of the problems that I continually run into among some people like Limbaugh who talk about things that they really don't understand, and it's a lack of knowledge of history, and it goes back to ancient history. If you don't understand what people did before, you're not going to know what they're going to do next, because people follow a general pattern, and if you don't know what they've done, you can't act on it, you can't talk about it.
Well, you're absolutely right, but I mean, studying history, in almost every culture, you didn't target women and children. Even if you killed the men, you kept the women and children basically as slaves or to expand your tribe, and to romanticize carpet bombing Dresden that killed hundreds of thousands of people in one night, to romanticize dropping A-bombs on a defeated foe, to romanticize it, but at the same time say, if you believe the official 9/11 story, that Al-Qaeda was cowardly and barbarous to target civilians. Well, under Limbaugh's rule, he must think that what Al-Qaeda did was okay.
And I would say that is a good summation. Well, and that's why your program is far better than his.
Well, I mean, I wish he understood this. But, I mean, look, he was never in the military. He hadn't even studied military history, clearly. He got a deferment because of a boil on his rear end. And then he's pro-war. I mean, you know, guys that love war, and think it's big and powerful, and the guy you meet at the gas station going, I'm glad we're blowing up Gaddafi, or kill them Arabs in Iran. Well, they're not even Iranian idiots. You know, these guys, I guarantee, are the type, if you said, let's go out in the parking lot with baseball bats and see who beats the other one to death, they'd start urinating down their leg, Bob.
Well, you know, it was interesting. He had a boil. When I went in and they were processing me, they found I had one of my fingers was cut off. And the doctor looked at me and smiled. He said, are you left-handed or right-handed? And I said, I'm right-handed. He said, you're hired. That was the trigger finger.
How'd you cut your finger off?
No, in a machine when I was younger, working in a factory.
Yeah, no, I cut mine off almost completely, but some skin. But the miracles of modern science. The weird thing is it didn't even hurt that bad. Did it hurt with you?
Well, I took off the first joint, and when on my left hand, the first finger after the thumb, and I grabbed it and I cut off the blood supply, and it was like numb, and it really didn't hurt that much. No, that's what happened to me. Yeah, it was bizarre. I mean, it hurt a little, but it was mainly just bizarre, the finger flopping around, hanging on by some meat. But I thought the bone was pretty. It was like purple and shiny. But mine was white and shiny. Yeah, it was really weird. Well, we got something in common. Yeah. Well, hey, I got mine, though. I'm sorry you lost yours, buddy. I can do parlor tricks, though. I still pull the trigger with the other hand. But it's like a parlor trick because it's numb. So, I mean, I could sit there and, like, take a lighter to it. I haven't done that, but I guess I couldn't impress people. Look, I'm G. Gordon Liddy. It doesn't hurt because I don't feel it. All right, I've digressed, Bob. We only got about 8 minutes left. I skipped the break so we'd have more time with you. TheInternationalForecaster.com. If folks want to call and get a free introductory copy of it, 800-686-2237, 800-686-2237. Invaluable information. Getting into other issues, dealing with the Fukushima situation, what's your view now on learning that reactor number 2 has completely melted down? Well, I think probably they ought to cement them all in. That's the best possible thing they could do, I would think. They've got such problems with them. They're old. The design didn't work in the final analysis. They've got all kinds of radiation. Goodness knows how many people are going to die from it. And it's probably all over the world by now. And so what should they do? Cement them in and find another way to get power to the area. Well, the ongoing cover-up, the FDA said, yeah, we found radiation 2 days ago in milk and some other things, but
That's the worst of it. But that was the radiation from 3 weeks ago that got here first. Now the really bad stuff, 100,000 times safe levels, is coming out. I mean, just common sense shows more intense radiation is on its way.
Absolutely. No question, and it can't be avoided. And it's very difficult for the average person to protect themselves because nobody told them it's on the way.
Bob, dealing with other issues in the economy, we see Portugal now, as you predicted 3 years ago, starting to go under. Ireland, Greece, Iceland. Now they're talking about the takedown being 8 times bigger if Spain goes under than the banker payout that they call a bailout to the private bankers in Spain. If the Germans are getting ready to jump ship over having to pay off Ireland and a few other smaller countries, what's going to happen when they've got to bail out everybody else?
Well, if you remember on this program months ago, I talked about the bill will be $3 to $5 trillion, and nobody was listening. And so they came up with $1 trillion among those countries in Europe, and Mrs. Merkel was supposed to ask for another $1 trillion. She didn't. She asked for a cut because of what went on in Hamburg in the election. And Germany is sick and tired. They want out of the euro. They want out of supporting everybody. They want out, I think they want out of the European Union as well. And, you know, I lived there for a long time. I understand where they're coming from. And they're justified in feeling that way because these countries continually get themselves into trouble by spending more money than they have revenue coming in. And as I said 14 years ago, before the first negotiations, the first treaty that they had, that one interest rate cannot service all because each economy was at a different stage of development. And you can't say that Spain, Ireland, Portugal, Greece should have an interest rate of 3% just because Germany has it. Wrong.
Because if they've been bailed out by Germany, then Germany's interest rate goes up. They're being penalized for actually bailing them out.
That's right. And you know, if they go for the $3 trillion, the solvent countries, France, Holland, Austria, and Germany, they'll all go under. And I think Ireland's got the right idea. Let the bondholders eat it. You know who owns the bonds? The Alpha Group and the Rothschilds. The Alpha Group is the black nobility in Europe for all intents and purposes. And that's why they're trying to push the Irish into honoring the bonds. And the Irish are saying, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to pay the bondholders off. And they're having conniptions over there.
And that's why they want to start new wars as political distractions, but I don't see it working this time. More and more people are identifying the banking cartel as the author of this crisis, and the globalists think they're going to get more power out of this as the days and weeks go by. More and more of the leverage begins to basically turn against them.
That's right, especially in the Bahrain, in Saudi Arabia, Yemen. Those countries are in trouble. And if one of them goes, they'll all go. And most of them are Shiites, which Iranians are Shiites as well, with the exception of Saudi. And so I see ongoing problems that they're going to have there. How bad they'll get, I don't know, but they could get out of hand, and that would be unintended consequences.
But on the clock, we've definitely gotten a few minutes closer to economic midnight, economic Armageddon.
Oh, yes. We're going down the road. They're doing everything to put roadblocks up, to extend everything. That's why they'll have QE3. If they don't, they may as well pull the plug on the whole thing. They don't have the money to cover the debt.
Well, Bob, unfortunately,
it's not only America, it's a whole bunch of countries.
Unfortunately, we're out of time, and I meant to get to George Soros and his Bretton Woods 2 coming up. But by the time you join us next week, that would have taken place. We can break down this move to a new global currency. TheInternationalForecaster.com. Bob, we'll talk to you again very soon. Thank you for joining us. See you next Friday.
Can't wait. Can't wait. Bye-bye.
All right, take care. We got Sean Stone coming up. I'm Alex Jones.
We're on the march. The empire's on the run. Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
This is Alex Jones with 5 good reasons you should consider buying a solar-powered